And we are on. Yeah. So basically, just to give kind of like a preamble, it's because it's been a few weeks since, or, yeah, it's been a few weeks since like I did the last episode or whatever. So, but this would be episode
Uh-huh.
4, and so um, this is the first time essentially that I have a guest, quote unquote. But yeah, I mean, it's because we've been talking about this specific subject, and but yeah, so however, so you went to like the like reopen Arizona protest.
Yeah, I did.
What was that about?
Um,
Like,
Essentially, I it came across my news feed like I think it was Friday,
mm-hmm,
and essentially what it was that there's this group in Arizona known I think as the Arizona Patriots. I'm not sure, but I saw
mm-hmm,
it on a lot of T-shirts today, so I have a feeling that that's the case. Um, so they're essentially like like right wing, like Republican, like conservative, and like massive Trump supporters.
mm-hmm.
The kind of Trump supporters that you get aggravated when you meet them.
Right.
Because you can't say like all people that support Trump are like terrible. Like there's like people in like Iowa that like work in like the Maytag factories and stuff. Like those people are fine. Like
Mm-hmm,
you know these are like your extremes. Like they're your bald eagles and stuff.
mm-hmm,
So at first, what I saw was that they were going to have a protest at the state capitol in Phoenix um, on Monday, right? And it was a protest that was going to follow the guidelines of social distancing, but essentially it was going to be a protest concerning the reopening of Arizona's businesses
mm-hmm.
in order to save the economy and to basically like defy like the stay-at-home order, which really Arizona does not have like a stay-at-home order at this point. It's more of like a recommendation, right?
Like the
Because like
governor
a lot of
didn't
people
set
are out and
anything.
about. What's that?
Like the governor didn't say, didn't like Governor
The
Ducey did
governor
not.
did give us a stay-at-home order, but I mean, he essentially also kept practically every business in the valley open to some extent.
Mm-hmm,
Like I looked up today, for instance, I was trying to narrow it down today as to like what the businesses that were closed, and there's not a lot of things in lieu of like movie theaters and like H&Ms and like retail places, like
like
department stores.
those are closed.
Yeah, H&Ms are closed here.
Mm-hmm,
Movie theaters are closed here. Nail salons, massage parlors, but nail salon, massage parlors, tattoo parlors, and hairdressers and barbers have only been closed in Arizona for I think the last like 3 weeks or so. Like they were still operating by the time that we did get the Stafford Act and all the stuff that was like in the early inception of the virus.
mm-hmm,
So anyway, just to get back to what I was saying, like essentially, so it was these people that kind of like rallied up today,
mm-hmm,
and so initially what I saw was that it was supposed to be scheduled for tomorrow, and it was going to be like a rally that was just going to follow like the guidelines of social distancing, where people would wear masks, people would like protest 6 feet from each other.
mm-hmm.
But at that point, they did not have a permit in order to protest. And so yesterday, when I was looking at my feed again, I saw that an extra date was added to this protest, to this rally about reopening Arizona and ending like the social distancing like order that's been put in place by Senator Doug Ducey, right? But so there was this catch too, because it was going to differ from the rally tomorrow, like the protest tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
in in that people would not be walking, they would be in their cars today, and they would be protesting in their cars. So I showed up at the state capitol around noon, and I saw about like 6 cars. Most of them were like lifted trucks. There was like a Hummer. So it was about 6 cars. And so they started driving. They had flags like, you know, don't tread on me, like bite me, like, you know, like fucking, like, you know.
Semper Fi.
You know, yeah, like my 51st state is an AR-15, et cetera, like a lot of stuff like that. But it was like 6 cars, right?
Right.
But then all of a sudden, 6 cars turned into like 20 cars. And they started like circling around the Capitol for 2 hours. And then some like foot soldiers showed up that were getting off the cars and like waving their signs. Everybody was wearing like balaclavas or like, you know, tactical masks. One of the Arizona Patriot was this woman wearing like really short shorts and like a tank top that said Arizona Patriot. But she also had like a Glock like on her belt. And so I kind of saw her and I was like, oh shit, like that's getting weird, right? And so I did the turn of the Arizona Capitol, and then I see the same woman wearing that Arizona Patriot tank top, cut off Daisy Duke shorts, and that Glock. But this time she also had like an AR-15, and she was walking with like her AR-15, her Glock, her shirt, her fucking camera. Yeah, and so it was a lot of stuff. Like it was like a lot of the message that I saw were what was it? Martial law, hell no. Another one was you know, live free or die. Security without freedom is prison. You know, a couple things like that. So as much as like as much as the scene was you know pretty unbearable, because you got to understand that these 20 cars now are like 30 cars, and they're all honking, right?
Right.
And so you got lifted trucks, you got Hummers, you got Dodge Vipers, you got Mercedes, you got all these cars, right? And you know, I'm having a dialogue with it. What's that?
Was the police there, or did they show up?
I saw one Arizona State Trooper car towards the end, and I think they were just circling around. There was no cops. I didn't see any cops at all.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So I mean, the thing was that like the first thing that I started realizing was that you know, because I was having a dialogue with some friends, and I was like, well, you know, I'm not seeing anyone with like a, you know, like a 2001 Corolla here. I'm not seeing anyone driving like, you know, like a Toyota like pickup from 1998. Like
there's some nice like there's some money going on.
These were expensive vehicles, or they were like obnoxious vehicles. Like they were vehicles that ranged between $80,000 to $150,000. And so it was all these families that showed up. Their kids were all there. All the kids were in the cars waving those protest signs. And so the thing was that like we started having this dialogue amongst me and my friends, because we just came. We didn't come in support. We just wanted to witness it. We wanted to see it. Like we were not there to counter protest, because we do believe in you know, people's right. Like people have the right to protest whatever it is, you know. You can protest over anything, you know.
Yeah.
But we wanted to witness it because we wanted to see the crowd that was going to like gather for this. And so the crowd that gathered for this, Youceff, were essentially, if I was to generalize them, which is not really hard to do, they were very wealthy. They were white, and they were all these kind of people that you would see. It would be easy to figure out what they do in terms of profession. They don't really have a profession. They opened a business maybe 20 years ago, or their parents opened a business 20 years ago. Maybe it was like in storage. Maybe they own a bar. Maybe they run, like a target shooting thing, or, maybe they have like 4 or 5 like Samurai Sam's type of franchise. And so those are the people that were there. The people that were there were the people, not the people that are suffering from, the lockdown, not the people that are like being crippled by the, this drastic change in the economy, but the people that feel less comfortable now.
Like bigger business owners kind of deal, like.
Yeah, like the people that are right now, they're not as comfortable as they used to be. Like
they don't have $20,000 coming in every month anymore.
Yeah, it's not 20,000. It's more like 5 Gs.
Right.
They can't find, like, the pool boy won't show up to clean the pool.
Right.
Like.
Well, yeah, because I had this kind of like half Facebook conversation about like who would be behind all these protests, because it's like in LA there was the rent protests, and like I mean, it was insane that like 100 people, like it was about maybe 100 people there, like I'd say maybe really like 50 to 70 people there, and that was like really an effort. And you think, in LA it's like rent is like one of the biggest worries, because the average rent in the city is like $2,400. Like the rent is like insanely high, and like you would think everybody would be down to protest for that, but
yeah,
you kind of like, you're like, how are all these? I think there was like a protest in like the Midwest somewhere where like there were like some 300 cars, and like they were blocking like an entire like big like a boulevard that had like 3 lanes on it. And you're like, well, how are all these people getting organized? Because it's one thing to do like a Facebook group, but it's like another to like actually get all these people to show up, because most people are going to be late, or like they're going to be such and such. So there was like a conversation about like who's behind all this. And I mean, of course, yeah, you think like, well, who's to gain? And it's like, like corporations, obviously, like, but then also like there was kind of like, and I don't know if, because I don't want to say, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, Trump is behind all this. And it's like, I mean, I think that's like, you don't really know, because I think, because if anything, these protests are making, because all these people who have like these patriot, like all these like Trump, like MAGA, I'm not sure if did you see any MAGA hats or anything like that? Like a lot of Trump flags, or?
I didn't see any MAGA hats, but I mean, I did see a lot of like Trump Pence flags and stuff. But like, I think that was just like, personally, like, I think that was just a veil, because like, I think it's just these people that are like, the only thing that they have in common is that they voted for Trump, I think, aside from, being like wealthy and not working, and like, just being comfortable business owners, in Arizona. But the thing about Arizona right now is that Arizona is not closed. Like, at least like the Maricopa County is not closed. Like I said, there's very, very little things that are closed at this point. Everything else is operating with limitation, but they're still operating. If you want to get your oil change, you can go to a shop and they'll do that. If you like anything that you can possibly want right now in Phoenix is available to you. If you want to eat, if you want to order drinks, if you want to like, like anything really, like with the exception of like movie theaters. But then I realized today that there's a drive-in theater in
Right. Glendale?
like Glendale.
Right.
Yeah, that's open. Like
Right.
so essentially, like, you can't really lament and like cry about like, oh no, like we can no longer like go out, or like there's not a $1,000 fine that's like hovering over people because they're out after a certain time of day. And people
Right.
are very much out and about out here. Like,
Right.
I was working in Scottsdale the other day, and people are like golfing. People are going to the parks. People are going to the country club. The country clubs are still open.
Right.
So I mean,
But I think, well,
the people that live in like a certain lap of luxury are still very comfortable. They're just inconvenienced a little bit because they can't go everywhere they want to go. You
right.
know. Um,
But I mean,
so
there was like the question of like, because I think if anything, all these protests, they're making Trump look pretty bad. Like, it's like you
yeah,
think, well,
yeah,
it's like, because at the same time, like Trump, although he did have these like he said these weird tweets like liberate, all these states and stuff. Um, but at the same time, like at the beginning of the month, they issued this like, 30 days to slow the spread. Like this is like if you go on the White House Twitter or the White House Instagram, it's like 30 days to slow the spread. And basically like, that's the that's the message, is that, stay home, um, like don't socialize, like don't, no group meetings, nothing like that. Wash your hands. Uh, I mean, their directives are there, but that's like what the White House is saying. But at the same time, you have these people that are like protesting with like these Trump flags. It's almost like you think like it's like because there's a lot of Trump voters who are not protesting. There's a lot
yeah.
of Trump voters who are staying at home and totally doing the right thing. But then you have these people protesting with like all these Trump flags, and you're like, well, is Trump actually like who's paying these? Like, because I think there's an argument being said about like paid actors, because there's been like, there's like several websites you can go online and like, have been denounced as like these companies that hire like protesters and pay them like $15 an hour or whatever to go protest somewhere. And like that's how they
Mhm.
manage to get like 500, 1,000 people to show up, is because, well, everybody's getting paid, so for sure let's protest.
Yeah, I remember that was a thing with like the what was it, Antifa, and like
Right.
the Rose or something.
Right.
He was doing that. Right.
Yeah, so
Well,
I mean,
but I
so it could
mean,
be, it could be like, no one really
I
knows,
thought
but it
about
could be
that.
that. Yeah. Like, what's
I
your
thought
view on
about
that?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought for a minute that it was possible that it was like that it was just like, oh, because I mean, some of these people were just like kind of like cartoon,
Right.
like it's like you can't be, like that, like you can't,
Like, seriously,
like
like,
it was like over the top, like there was a guy that was
right.
waving like a pole that was like around like 16 feet, that had like 4 different version of like the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, like updated with like "Bite me, shoot me, I'll shoot you first." There was like a snake
Right.
holding like an AK, all sorts of weird things. But like, like, so I thought about that for a minute, but then like also like I think those people were very much serious about this, like,
Mm.
and I think that they're not realizing that like they're going against like that is just them essentially, um, not believing in their commander in chief, and like kind of like violating, the orders that their commander in chief said,
Right.
that being Trump. And I think that them waving the Trump Pence flags was, kind of like being like under the guise of like, we're pissed off, we're against, we want our businesses to reopen. We want our Samurai Sam's and our, Sbarro's pizzerias like to reopen at the mall. but then like we still vote Trump, like, and so that's why they were waving the flag. Like, I don't think that they were necessarily that they were like, oh yeah, like, because I didn't hear anyone chant like, Trump president, any of that. It was mostly like reopen Arizona, like fix our economy's tanking and all that stuff. But I mean, but like I said before, like again, it's just, I think it was mostly a display of like very much so like one percenters. There was very little like blue collar like workers there. Like it was, you had a couple people that were that paraded in their own like their work trucks, like their business trucks. Like there was a lady that sold hemp oil, and she drove in her truck, like in her car, because I'm guessing like her business is affected by this. Which I mean, like she carved of the same wood as these other people were. Like these people that I'm telling you, it looked like that movie The Purge, in the sense that they were like waving guns in luxury vehicles, and like almost like obscene displays of misguided patriotism. That's just for the sake of shock, because there was newscasters there. Like there was, ABC 15, Fox 10, all the main food groups were there. And then you also had like, obviously like freelance photographers. Like a friend of mine who's like a freelance photographer was filming the whole thing. He ran his drone over, just to see, the pileup. And, yeah, so I mean, I think that, there's a certain thing when it comes to like that type of Arizonian. They're like an animal in themselves, because like from what I saw and what I saw in Michigan and what I saw in Texas, it was very different here. Like it was, it wasn't your blue collar, like white knuckle workers. It was your Queen Creek, Scottsdale, Cave Creek, like elite. That was there. Like it was that's who was there protesting. So I mean, and that was really the problem, because like, I mean, I did get interviewed. I answered a few questions, and to me the thing is that my comparison to this whole thing is that I work for a moving company, and I went from working an average of 45 hours a week to sometimes 72 hours a week, which is overtime. Now I'm working an average of like 6 to 10 hours a week, a total. So my checks went from that to being like about $100 a week. So really, if you think about it, I should be out there protesting to reopen Arizona before they would, because I'm averaging like $400 a month at this point. But I'm not doing that because I understand that social distancing, I understand that taking precautions have been able to, limit like the death toll and like the amount of people that are affected by this. Like, I've been able to,
just because the virus is like asymptomatic, so you can't, it's like, even if you think you're fine, you could be having it and like spreading it around. So it's like, I think that's the general idea. And I think that's what a lot of these people just don't understand, or refuse to understand. They don't understand what asymptomatic means, which is fine. I mean, I didn't know what it meant either, but it's like when you understand, it's like, okay, well, it's just the opposite of symptomatic, which doesn't carry any symptoms. But I mean, what was I gonna say? Like, did you like? I mean, because I believe if you go under like if your hours are severely cut, I think you can apply for unemployment. I mean, I was
Yeah,
yeah,
I've already I started undergoing that. I've
word.
looked into renters assistance and a couple other programs. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty set on those.
Okay.
And I mean, like, it's not like I'm not suffering or anything. I'm just trying
Right.
to compare myself to them,
Right.
where, like, you know, like, even though I've seen like my wage get cut drastically, I still understand that this is part of like the
Figure.
arduous task that we need to undergo in order to prevail over this disease.
Right.
That limiting my foot traffic around my city during the week, like going to the stores, like whenever I want to,
Right.
um, and trying to not, um, trying to avoid crowds, and really make the best out of, being surrounded with friends and family
Right.
and communicating with them on a regular basis. It's not that bad, like
Right.
it's a small amount of change that you need to like disperse in order to guarantee your safety and the safety of your loved ones.
But I mean, it
And
seems like these
so,
people. Sorry, I was gonna say. I mean, it seems like these people are mostly just motivated by their own greed of just wanting
yeah,
like just as much money all the time, constantly, and like they've they've been like this for such a long time that now like it's they're not even like it's like they're addicted that they can't
yeah,
even like take it upon themselves to like think beyond their own like needs.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, like, that's I think that's one of the symptoms of being in the desert too long. Like, you're obsessed with that gold.
Right.
You're constantly trying to like unearth that gold, like a prospector that's going from
The
one hole
Dutchman.
to another, trying to find that gold.
Right.
And so yeah, no, they were. It was definitely more of like that type of motivation, I think. And I mean, if I would have seen your, you know, like more blue collar, more service industry driven people, I would have taken a step back, and I would have been able to um, relate to
Mm-hmm.
the people that were demonstrating today. But the fact that there was no sign of those people, and that again it was the bald eagles, um, custom paint jobs, lifted trucks,
Right.
um, Dodge Vipers type of people. I just I mean that there there's nothing that I have in common with those people, and never will I have anything in common with those people.
Right.
So it was very laughable, and like, I mean, there's gonna be a second one tomorrow,
Right. I was gonna say.
and so I was originally gonna be put on a job tomorrow, like a longer job at my work, which would have given me hours, but I asked to get switched off to doing like a furniture dignity thing where we go out and like donate furniture to uh, people in need. So I'm gonna go do that, which will take me 3 hours, and then I'll be back at the Capitol, and I'm gonna try and like see what the protest is gonna look like, as opposed
Mm.
to the vehicle rally, because I mean, maybe the real people that wanted to protest did not have cars,
Right.
maybe.
Right.
But I do have in the back of my head, I do have a feeling that it's just gonna be the same crowd tomorrow. But I mean, I'll definitely keep you up to date on that. Um, but I don't know.
Word. Yes. I mean, I kind of wanted to. Obviously, I mean, not to say that that wasn't like what I wanted to talk about, but it seemed like interesting. Um, but I hit you up mostly because of Facebook. Are you down? Like, you still have time to talk about that, or?
Yeah, I can do maybe like 20 minutes on the Facebook. If
Okay.
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
And then I probably yeah, like let's just get into it, see where it goes.
all right. So basically, I mean, this kind of came up because like I was having like all these uh, kind of arguments and becoming like more like regular on Facebook recently. Um,
Mm,
and but also because like I also kind of like started to freak out because I was posting these things to my wall and like I was not getting any likes at all. You know, I was getting maybe like
mm-hmm,
one or two here and there, but especially people who are like closest to me, like I, you know, like I was telling you, like Isaiah or like you know some of my closest friends, like it's really strange. I would get these like Facebook notifications from them, like saying like, oh, you know, such and such posted this, like such and such person posted this, like Troy posted this, like, and I'd be like, okay, well,
mm-hmm.
are they getting the same notifications about me? Because I'm posting stuff and like they're none of them are liking it. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, like so did they unfollow me or like whatever? And I think we talked about that. Um, but yeah, like um, I'm not sure. Well, yeah, you probably won't be able to see this, but basically, Troy sent me this. Um, well, he didn't send me, but he posted this article from Science, um, which hold on a second. Yeah, which basically discussed like Facebook. It's called Connected but at What Cost? And so, I mean, this is not something like you already know this, but and I think like I wanted you on the call mostly because um, you like deactivated your Facebook account a few years back.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that experience is like pretty valuable because I haven't, you know, I'm on the side of like I have to have a Facebook. But yeah, so Facebook users, I'm just gonna read the article here. It's really brief. Facebook users randomly, I'm sorry, Facebook users randomized to deactivate their account for 4 weeks in exchange for $102, freed up an average of 60 minutes a day, spend more time socializing offline, like we're doing right
Mm-hmm.
now, became less politically polarized, and reported improved subjective well-being relative to controls. However, the treatment group also became less knowledgeable about current events. And
Mm-hmm.
so um, they said basically that also the same people with like who got 102 bucks, $102, said that they would lower the amount of compensation they would demand to deactivate their account for another 4 weeks. And I mean, the article is like greater. I think it's probably more detailed in the actual Science magazine. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was interesting to see how like, you know, that's the thing. Like,
Well,
what
yeah.
happens to your life
I mean,
if you deactivate your Facebook? Go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, I mean, I definitely agree with like pretty much all the findings that this research did, except for the last one in terms of like not being aware of like current events. But I mean, I deactivated my Facebook, I think like a year and a half ago, um, maybe like coming up on 2 years in October.
Mm-hmm.
So I I feel like in terms of like how my life has changed since then, because I used to be extremely, addicted to Facebook. Like there's,
Right.
I'm sure that people can relate where there is times in the middle of the night where if you were to wake up in the middle of the night, um, like I used to wake up in the middle of the night to like go use the restroom or like to go get a glass of water or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then on my way back to bed, I would check my phone and then I would start scrolling through like my wall on Facebook.
Right.
And
Like you have a
then
notification from
before,
Facebook about something.
right. And then before I even know it, like what was like a 2-minute pit stop in order for me to get rehydrated or use the restroom and then go back to bed, I spent 50 minutes on Facebook and lost 15 minutes of sleep
Right.
that I could have used to sleep, right?
Right.
And
Right.
then there was like many accounts where if I would post something, I was always very, very careful about what I would post. I always tried to make something thought-provoking, something that people could be uplifted by. Like things always very like looked very far deep in like niche regions of the internet to find things that people would not normally look for. And I had about, I would say like, I had a lot of friends. I had like maybe somewhere in the likes of like 2,000 to 3,000 friends. Not a lot of which I knew personally, but I mean like
Right. Facebook friends.
When you start Facebook after being on MySpace, which a lot of people like a lot of kids these days like have not been able to experience that switch.
Right.
Your friends meant a lot on MySpace, and so I kind of went into Facebook with that same mentality. So I had a lot of friends, but I would post these, very carefully crafted like posts on my wall, and I would never get like anything short of like 10 likes.
Right.
I think the one post I recall that had the most traction to this day, like I still remember it, was when I posted pictures of Shelley Duvall, who played opposite of Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Right.
I posted pictures of her outside of the Shining because everybody knows her for The Shining and Annie Hall, and
Right.
she looks disheveled, she looks horrible. But then I found these pictures of her where she was absolutely beautiful and like a complete trendsetter in the 70s. And I got somewhere around like 89 likes, somewhere around that. And like that was like the largest thing I've ever had.
Right.
So it's funny that like coming up on 2 years of deactivating my account, I still remember that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like, and it's like, well, it's like, and I think, like, was that pretty early on Facebook, your Facebook, like, experience, if we can call it that? Or was that kind of later on? Because I think, like, it was more, like, I mean, there was this argument because I think initially I would get more, quote unquote, likes or whatever. Like, I even, I get these, like, 10 years ago Facebook posts or whatever, I think everybody gets them, or 7 years ago or whatever, and you're like, wow, I used to get like a lot of likes. And like what happened, it's like, did everybody unfollow me or whatever? But like there is the real fact that Facebook, as they grew, and especially as your own friend like group grows, right? If you only had like 10 people or whatever, perhaps it would be different. But as the more friends you have, Facebook, it quote unquote have their like algorithm, right? That like where like shows or doesn't show your post to certain people, because quote unquote they can only show so much. Like if 1,000 people, if you're friends with 1,000 people and 1,000 people post something, well, you're scrolling down, you're not going to see everything that all your friends posted. But so this kind of gives like Facebook this ability to like control what people see, like they control what you see, what you don't see, and it's like it kind of becomes this this power that they have that's very like like no one, like who gave them that power,
Yeah. Well, I definitely think that they have control over what you release and how many people see it, because I've been at a lot of when I was on Facebook, I went to a lot of like social gatherings afterwards, and then I'd be like, oh well, because I mean, you know how conversations kind of mutated after social media, especially Facebook became a thing.
Right.
Where all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'll Facebook you, or like like I posted this thing earlier this week. Like, did you see it? That was often
Right.
a conversation starter, right?
Right.
So you'd run into a friend of yours that monitors, that you're friends on Facebook, and you meet him or her at a party or at a bar, and you're like, oh yeah, like I posted this thing earlier on Facebook this week. Did you see it? And they'll tell you like, no, I don't think so. No, I didn't see
Right.
it. What was it? And then you pull it up on your phone and show it physically to them, and they're like, oh, that's really cool. Let me get on Facebook and like that, and it's like,
Right.
so there's definitely like trace amounts of like proof that shows that there's definitely something about it. And I think they also have a thing where they probably have some kind of like meter scale that says, oh, well, he's good at Facebook and he's not really good at Facebook, but she's good at Facebook and she's not very good at Facebook. And so they
Right.
kind of encourage kind of like almost like, like pack, like sheep type of mentality where people are just like posting bullshit, but it feeds the meter as opposed to someone who's like, oh, well, here is what a bulldog, like an English bulldog, looked like prior to like excessive crossbreeding, and here are different like purebreds, and this is like what happened when like people over a century have deformed
Right.
dogs essentially. So someone that's like
Yeah, like
bringing
something
something
interesting.
interesting to the table
Right.
is gonna be put like
We don't want to share that.
the dog police. We don't want that.
Well,
But instead, we're gonna get fucking like life hacks or some other bullshit, whatever it is.
right.
And it gets to a point where like, I mean, I had a large cache of friends, and I started noticing too that there was I was getting like things up on my wall that like I wasn't friends with that person. I wasn't I didn't know this person. I didn't follow this person. I didn't.
Right.
But then I saw that I did follow this person,
Right.
but it was it was unbeknownst to me.
Right. You weren't aware you've
And
actually
so I
followed
was
that
like,
person.
but that's the thing though. Like I never followed anyone like willingly on
Right.
Facebook.
Right.
I've accepted friend requests. I've sent out friend requests, but I've never followed anyone.
Right.
Now, my feed was so saturated that I was getting feeds of people that were, like India social media influencers or
Right.
fucking Thai people that like Thai boys that, like are like trendsetters in fashion over there or some shit like that. And I was like, when did I like, like was I
Right.
drunk? Did I fucking look at that shit and like clicked on it by accident? No. Like what I really believe is that when you gave like I pretty much gave up full creative control of my Facebook to Facebook. So they got to a point where they were just probably making me follow things that I never followed in the first place. And how
Right.
is he gonna know? Because he's got 3,000 fucking friends. Like, like he can look them up, like look all of them up.
Right.
So
Well, that's the thing. I do
it just,
remember. Yeah. Right.
yeah, go on. No, but it's just like, the more you're involved in it, the more it materializes into something that creates revenues without giving you any form of revenue. Like Facebook creates, like basically takes your profile and then weaponizes it to a point where it's generating views for itself and traffic for itself. So it can never really run out of anything. And like, I mean, like that was just something I theorized, but like, I honestly, like, that's when I told myself that it was enough,
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it because I do remember, like, and I mean, I'm not saying that this was like a definite thing, like I'm not sure if it's real or not, but I remember like a few years back, like this must, I think maybe 2017 at some point, like I would just see all these like weird ass like posts, like most of them were like in Arabic, and they
Mm-hmm.
were they were from like just things I did not follow at all. And I think it was like kind of like a glitch maybe in their system that made it so that like these posts I completely did not follow at all like showed up in my feed, and I wondered like what was going on. And like, yeah, I'm not sure if that's maybe the same thing that you're referring to, or like,
Yeah,
because
it's the same thing I'm referring to. I mean, it's just
after a while it kind of stopped. But
it passes as a it could pass as a glitch. I mean, like I'm
right,
just kind of like throwing a theory out there because like I did kind of like realize that I was following things that I never followed in the first place,
right,
and I was kind of like liking things, like maybe not liking things, but like, you know, all of a sudden I see these things that are part of the profiles that I'm following that I never agreed to follow to. And
right,
then, you know, I mean, like if you're on your wall and you see shit popping up all day, you're gonna like some of it. You're gonna like
right.
1 out of 10 things, 1 out of 5, if you feel like you're in the mood to like actually like spread some love, you know.
Yeah, if you're not
Um,
thinking about it, if you don't think there's any nefarious like activity going
yeah,
on, you're just gonna be like, oh, cool, like that's a cool post. I don't really
yeah,
remember that guy, but okay.
yeah, exactly.
But
So I mean, well, it's not really like, I don't think like we're really like far fetching right now. Like I don't think we're really like, oh,
no, and
like putting on
hopefully,
tinfoil hats. Like
no, and hope,
it's not really a far reach
yeah, and
to be
hopefully,
like, oh well,
I think people
yeah.
like, if anything, I mean, I'm not sure who's gonna really watch this. I think I had maybe like 20 views on like the last podcast, but it's like
It's
um,
better than 0 views.
it's better than 0 views. And you know, if anybody's like watching this like and has an experience or whatever on Facebook like that's similar, like you should definitely post it in the comments, just because it's very fascinating. We all have like these independent like, you know, that we think like, oh, this is just me, but it's like, no, it turns out like a lot of us have had the same experience. You're like, you know, it's only once we all realize that we all had the same experience that we're like, oh shit, like what's Facebook doing? Like, you know, like what's
Yeah,
their motive? Like, you know, and I was gonna say, I think there's definitely like a huge major kind of gaslighting experience in terms of like, oh, but you never saw this because you don't actually follow this person. And it's like, well, yeah, but you definitely like this page, and you're like, no, I did not like this page. It's like, well, you know, this is we have a data set here that says, oh, you clicked on like here like 3 years ago, therefore this is why it's in your feed. And you're like, okay, like I guess like I don't remember doing that. And it's very unlike me, for example, to follow like, you know, like Real Madrid fans, for example. It's like, why would that be in my feed? It doesn't make any sense. Like I don't like Real Madrid, and I definitely wouldn't like just like a like a fan created like page, for example. You know,
yeah.
it's like it doesn't make
Well,
sense.
I don't really know like what the layout of Facebook looks like today, but I do remember that when I like first signed up for it, which was like in 2000, it was after high school. I think it was 2008.
Hmm.
I remember that like the tagline of Facebook, it was like essentially Facebook, like a place for friends.
Right.
Is that still there?
I think if you're signed out, like I think I'm constantly signed in um, to some crazy like, but so I very rarely see the like the homepage, but
Let me take a
I
look real
think,
quick. Hold on.
well, I mean, I can do it here. Um, let's see, Facebook.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I'm on the thing. I'm on the Facebook thing right now. It says like login.
Yeah, yeah.
That, that it doesn't have that slogan, right?
It says connect with your.
Like,
It says connect with friends and the world around you on Facebook.
right.
But yeah, it
So
doesn't
what
say.
I recall was that the old Facebook, the first Facebook that I was on, had just one tagline. It was simple. It was just like Facebook, a place for friends. And so
Right.
by them changing that, I feel like Facebook is not a place just for friends.
Right.
It's a lot more than that now.
Right. Right.
And so it's really interesting because, you know, like sometimes it's just as simple as a slogan or a logo change, you know, that all of a sudden, you know, that it's going towards a different direction. So I don't know. I mean,
Also,
I think
yeah.
I think it's a lot more than what it says it is.
Right. And I mean, well, that's a
And
good kind of segue because, sorry, you were gonna say?
yeah, no, it's a lot more than what it says it is.
Right. I mean,
And it's been caught red-handed many a times, like over the years, and has not been held accountable for, you know, the negative things that it
the
brought
actual
upon its platform.
the actual negative things, because like they've been brought up for like Russia meddling, right? Like that's like, oh, Facebook, Russia, blah blah blah, like Cambridge Analytica, like, oh my God, look at what they did, Trump, Trump, Trump. But it's like the
Yeah,
actual like psychological,
yeah,
you know,
the
damage
suicide,
that it's created, like the, you know, the friendships it's like ruined,
the
the like,
relationships, it
yeah,
destroyed. The cyberbullying did not exist before it.
right,
You know,
like
I mean,
all the kids who kill
you can make a pretty
themselves,
strong case about that.
right.
Um,
When
and
I
then
think,
you have a lot of things that were caused by it that are, you know, that are detrimental. Lives have been lost
right,
because of it. And you know, it's always been like a really good broadcaster of uh, of sorrow, like and depression and but then at the same time, you look at the people that are drinking the Facebook Kool-Aid.
mm-hmm.
You never see you never see some kid falling off a bicycle. You never see someone crying. You never see um, someone like receiving like you know, like getting fired. Like no one ever posts about that. People are
Right,
always posting about this like fake like avatar life that they have.
right,
If I go by like my friend's Facebook post,
mm-hmm.
I would say that they're always smiling by a mountain and eating sushi um, at happy hour, and that's all they do.
Right,
Like
right. And I
they're
mean, well,
never, you know,
right,
and people's lives are and now people's lives are relative to that. We're not gonna do anything unless we can show it on Facebook.
that's like that, right. I mean, it's definitely, so like I think there's definitely, like it's really, I mean, it was kind of like the segue earlier, but it, you know, it kind of makes you think, well, that, you know, this is more than just a place for friends, and so I think people don't really know the, I mean, a lot of people don't know, like some people might know, but a lot of people don't know the the history of Facebook and kind of what it what it stemmed from. So I'm just gonna like transfer here to this article here. So there is this program called um, uh, DARPA LifeLog. So DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. It's a
Mm-hmm.
DoD, Department of Defense agency. And so they had this thing called LifeLog. Like, so, and this is just from the straight Wikipedia page. So LifeLog was a project of the Information Processing Techniques Office of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, of the U.S. Department of Defense, DoD. According to its bid solicitation pamphlet, it was an ontology-based subsystem that captures, stores, and makes accessible the flow of one's experience in and interactions with the world in order to support a broad spectrum of associates, assistants, and other assistant capabilities. The objective of the lifelog concept was to be able to trace the threads of an individual's life in terms of events, states, and relationships. And it has the ability to take in all of a subject's experience, from phone numbers dialed and email messages viewed to every breath taken, step made, and place gone. So I mean, this is pretty, this was like a government program that was put together. And just to kind of make a note on this, you know, I'm not sure if you knew this, but like my mom's cell phone, like I realized that, and this is something that's happened also with Papa's phone, that like, well, my mom's phone, the Samsung, was like set up to have Messenger, like Facebook Messenger, be the principal message. Like if you were to text somebody with like just the phone, send a text, it'd be through Messenger. And with Papa, it was through WhatsApp. Like, and that's literally everything, right? So like, and this is just a default on people's phone that they aren't even aware of, that, okay, the default on your Google phone is actually WhatsApp, which WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, or the default is like Messenger. So it's all like, it's like, you know, they want you as much, you know, now you have Facebook calling, right? You have Facebook Messenger. It's all meant to like grab it all in and like have it within like a set. And so there's no doubt that all the conversations, you know, we've had with like, you know, our cousins overseas or whatever on Facebook are recorded. Like all the calls I've had with Papa are recorded and placed somewhere within their little database. And so crazy enough, I'm not going to read through all of this here, but I mean, it gets deeper, and I'll have a link here in the description. But it says the DARPA program was canceled on February 4, 2004, after criticism from civil libertarians concerning the privacy implications of the system. Now, switch it up to the history of Facebook, okay? And Facebook is a social networking service launched as the Facebook on February 4, 2004. It was founded by Mark Zuckerberg with his college roommates and fellow Harvard University students Eduardo Saverin, Andrew McCollum, Dustin Moskovitz, and Chris Hughes, which initially was limited only to Harvard students. And then it was like Ivy League, and then
colleges.
Yeah, but basically
universities and colleges.
Yeah, but basically the day that DARPA was like the day that quote unquote LifeLog was closed, it moved to like that's the day that Facebook was launched. And you think, okay, well, that's a strange coincidence, right? And I mean personally, like I don't feel like there are coincidences. It just doesn't, like coincidences are just like I think the word was created to get people to like, I don't know, to think that I don't know, things are not connected, but ultimately I think obviously they are. And so
thermodynamic miracles. Thermodynamic miracles. It's like the scientific way of saying things connected.
Right.
But it's like that's too much of a coincidence to say that it is a coincidence.
Right. And I mean, you have, and this is not like, I mean, some people will say, oh, that's just that's a huge stretch to make that like DARPA LifeLog is really, or that Facebook is really DARPA LifeLog. But okay, I'm not the only one. So you have an article here from Vice, which, you know, isn't necessarily, you know, but they have this thing called Motherboard, and it says, this is the title of the article, 15 years ago. This was published in May 2018. So 15 years ago, so around 2003, the military tried to record whole human lives. It ended badly. Before Facebook, the military tried to make an all-knowing cyber diary called LifeLog. And I mean, it kind of goes on and on and on and on. And then you have another article here from CBS News, which says the social media is a tool of the CIA. Seriously. And this is kind of interesting because it points to like the actual thing, or like the actual system, right? Because everything kind of works in systems. You need like an infrastructure. And so this is by Jim Edwards. CBSnews.com. It says you don't need to wear a tinfoil hat to believe that the CIA is using Facebook, Twitter, Google, and other social media to spy on people. And that's because the CIA publishes a helpful list of press releases on all the social media ventures it sponsors via its technology investment arm. It's called In-Q-Tel. And I actually looked this up. The world's largest database on individuals. One of the main threats to privacy comes from advertisers who want to track everything consumers do on the web and scrape their online accounts for personal information. It shouldn't be surprising, therefore, to learn that the CIA and the world's largest ad agency network, WPP, have been in bed together on the social media data mining venture since at least January 2009. WPP currently claims to own the world's largest database of unique individual profiles, including demographics, financial, purchase, and geographic histories. WPP's Visible Technologies unit took an investment from In-Q-Tel in fall 2009. Visible Technology developed tools that can scan social media networks such as Twitter and Facebook. And then, WPP agency takes funding from CIA investment unit. That's kind of just rehashes the same thing. And if you go to the IQT website, it's iqt.org. It's just kind of a weird website. From the dot-com boom to the age of AI, IQT has been scouting revolutionary tech tools to help the intelligence and defense communities keep our nation safe. See how we've innovated over the last 20 years amidst a rapidly changing technology landscape. So it's like what they say when they say intelligence and defense communities, that means the intelligence community is the CIA and the NSA. The defense community would be Department of Defense. So that's the thing, and this is from 1999 to 2019. You can have this.
It's very nefarious cloud.
Yeah, and you think. And you think it's like, oh, you guys are like, you have, your conspiracy theorists and this and that, but this website's like real, you can go to it. And I mean, they don't hide anything in that realm. And I mean, there's some people that say, oh, well, I don't have anything to hide kind of deal, right? It's like if you don't have anything to hide, you shouldn't be worried. And it's like, well, that's not what it's all about. The idea is like, okay, this connection is set up here. So, when you realize that there's basically a connection between the CIA and Facebook. Well, it's great that the CIA wants to protect the nation, but at the same time, the CIA was involved in a lot of kind of covert operations. And so one of the things I wanted to bring up here, and I told you earlier, was, well, obviously Mark Zuckerberg, right? Born in White Plains, New York, Zuckerberg attended Harvard University, where he launched Facebook, blah, 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 February 4, 2004. And you have this article here from this, it's called Town and Country. How spy agencies use American universities to secretly recruit students. Daniel Golden's new book contends that America's elite universities are a fertile breeding ground for international espionage. And I mean, I will say, when I was at ASU, I remember, there was, this was within, the economics department, but there was, they would send us, these job blasts or whatever, these internship blasts. And I remember in one of them, they had, a CIA. It was just, there was a link, oh, here, an internship with the CIA. And I was at ASU. But I mean, Harvard has been known as the #1 kind of breeding ground for that, especially in terms of, because that's, where you have the brightest minds, go to Harvard, quote unquote. And I was telling you also, I found this article, which is really a newspaper clipping from this thing called the Crimson, which the Crimson is the Harvard, is a student-run nonprofit Dickerson.com. It looks like it's like the student newspaper at Harvard. There's an article here from September 28, 1977, which says that CIA papers link Harvard to Mind Control Project. The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, informed university officials this week that Harvard was involved in one way or another in 2 research projects conducted under the agency's MK-Ultra Human Behavior Control Project. Daniel Steiner, 54, general counsel to the university, said yesterday. So it's like, obviously, these, like, you know, when you control like people's news feeds, right, and you control like whether your friends see your posts or not, whether they like it or not, and your reaction to them not liking your stuff, which like makes you more upset, or like maybe you get into all these, like, you see all these political things, like, you know, you see like your group or whatever, like a anti-Trump group or like a pro-Trump group, and it's just like, you know, based on the things that you liked, right? Based on like, you know, maybe you're into like Kanye West or whatever there. So you'll see like, or, you know, if you're into like, I don't know, like Jon Stewart, you're going to see like an anti-Trump group or whatever. If you watch like Comedy Central, if you liked Comedy Central on Facebook, you know, maybe you're going to get kind of like advertised like these groups. If you liked Fox News, you're going to see these specific things. If you like, you know what I mean? It's all like, it's like they can kind of, like we discussed, like it's like they control this kind of narrative of like what you can and can't see. Meanwhile, at the same time, you have like the CIA MK Ultra infiltration into Harvard, which is like where Zuckerberg went to school. And then, yeah, so it's like, it kind of brings together this, right? Like we were talking earlier, these feedback loops. I mean, this is all stuff that you know, but it's like, you know, just kind of bringing it back, because I think we all saw these articles like back in the day. This was from like 2017, and we're like, oh yeah, okay, that's kind of weird, but it's like we didn't really like. It kind of flew over people's heads a lot, especially because we think, oh, that's weird that they would do that, but I'm still going to use Facebook. And it's like, I think right now, personally for me, it's like it's really hitting me of how intense. And I guess it's kind of like it seems like when you like kind of shut off Facebook. But this article from The Guardian too. Ex-Facebook president Sean Parker says site made to exploit human vulnerability. Site's founding president, who became a billionaire thanks to the company, says God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains. And there's a video here, but it says basically Facebook's founders knew. I'm going to play this video for a second, if you don't mind. There's 2 videos actually, one from Sean Parker and then this other exec, Shamat Palihapitiya. But yeah, it says Facebook founder knew they were creating something addictive that exploited the vulnerability in human psychology from the outset. And so the video is here. Can you hear that?
No, not really, but it's all good though.
Okay.
Just
I'll tell you when it's done, I guess.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I like tried to remove this like thing or whatever, but it. Sorry. Word up. Sorry,
Yeah.
1 second. It's
I
like
was
a minute more. Sorry, there's like a
Okay.
minute more. Sorry. Right. So basically, I mean, he's just saying like, um, hold up. That's the thing. So he's basically saying like the thought process for Facebook was like, how do we consume as much of your time as possible? You know, like, um, and then, and so yeah, he's saying like, um, basically to consume as much as time as possible. It's like, um, they'll show your post or whatever to a friend, which, you know, they'll like it, and then you'll get a like for it, and then you'll be like, okay, cool, like that'll make you go back to Facebook to see your like and see your friend liking it, see like what is it that they liked, and then you're gonna be like, okay, cool, well, like if they like that kind of stuff, well, I'm gonna keep on posting that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what the article says. And he says like something very striking here. Um, he says like, he's like, this is literally here. It's a social validation feedback loop, exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. And then, I mean, this other guy's, his Facebook video is like way longer, but he kind of says the same thing. I mean, I think the one from Sean Parker is like the most striking. Are you okay for me to play his video real quick? It's like about 5 minutes. Unless, or else,
Yeah, I mean,
do you have something to say, or?
No, not really. I mean, I was gonna say I might have to sign off in a little bit.
Word.
If that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially it. I mean, I guess if you want to
But I
share
mean,
your final thoughts.
I'll let you play the 5 minute clip, and then we can go to like a closing thing and then leave it at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's chill. So it's about 5 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to set like a timer for yourself. You can like go do other stuff if you want. But yeah,
No, that's okay. Go for it. Do
okay,
your
it's playing.
thing.
Mhamed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's basically saying like kind of like what you did. He just like like it got too intense, and he was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna delete this. Like I'm just gonna leave it. Um, um, but okay, a couple more minutes, okay? Word. So basically, I mean, that's kind of I mean, the guy was saying like there was like this thing that happened on like WhatsApp. There was like some hoax on WhatsApp that happened in India, right? Where like I guess like people were saying that there was like someone like kidnapping kids, and then like what resulted from like that hoax that was spread on WhatsApp was like there were these like lynchings happening in India because they think they found the person that are hiding there, that are like kidnapping the kids. But it's like the whole time it's a hoax, you know, and it's like it's kind of insane in terms of how yeah, I mean, like that's
It
not.
is.
I mean, it's not so much about the like the. I mean, I think the thing that's really like really most alarming part of it all is like that kind of like the fact that Facebook controls this like narrative on your timeline. They control whether your friends see your stuff or not. Like one of the things I was gonna say in terms of like, you know, coming to kind of like a closing is like, you know, on Facebook, on like Twitter, and I think we talked about this the other day, on Twitter and Instagram, which Instagram is owned by Facebook as well. But on Twitter and Instagram, you can see who follows you, right? And who doesn't follow you back, things like that. But on Facebook, you can't see which friends of yours follow you and which friends don't. That's hidden, and I think that's purposely hidden because Facebook wants to be able to control, you know, whether, like basically Facebook wants you to get upset at your friends for not liking your stuff. Because, you know, but really it's like, well, Facebook didn't show your stuff to your friends, so how could they have liked it? And so that's the thing he's saying, like, you know, like the guy, like Shamat Padiapitya is saying like, you know, it got too tense with his friend groups, you know, and that's the thing, like, you know, you're like, oh, did you see this? You didn't like it? Like, why didn't you like it? And it's like, oh, this person said this on Facebook, and it's like, you didn't see it. It's like, how, like, well, you gotta get informed. And, you know, you always think like, oh, well, maybe some of my friends just really don't go on Facebook like at all, you know? And it's like, there are those people that like, right, like only log in like twice a year or whatever. And I'm seeing more and more of my friends, like I think Steve, like his face, like he doesn't have Facebook anymore. Like a lot of these accounts, basically, whenever you deactivate, the account is still there, but you see like it's like you see an icon of their face. It's like totally weird. But that's the thing. Like it's like, is Twitter an answer? Like, you know, is Instagram better? Like, you know, because I think we're talking about that too. Like the explore page on Instagram is like, you know, it's like, and it's turning everybody, like everybody thinks they're like, you know, in like keeping up with the Kardashians, except the Kardashians is you. It's like keeping up with the, you know, whatever your last name is.
You, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you have TikTok, right?
Snapchat, fucking, yeah. I mean,
like, what's the answer? I mean, and that's one, and that's kind of one of the things. Like, I think I'm getting this a lot. Like lately, like, you know, whenever I say, oh well, like, you know, like don't vote for example, like don't vote for Biden, right? It's like, well, who should I vote for then? It's like, well, that's actually a fallacy because there does need to be a solution for like a specific choice to not be the right choice. You know, you can have no solution and admit that Biden should not get your vote. Likewise, you can have no solution but say that you shouldn't be on Facebook. You know, you should delete your Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you don't need, like do we need to have a separate, like a new social media platform in order to like get rid of Facebook? You know?
Yeah.
Like, do we, or can we survive? Can we just get rid of social media as a whole forever?
I mean, I believe so. I mean, like, the thing is that when you talk to a lot of people about that subject, they kind of tell you that, like, oh, well, I just have Facebook to, like, keep up with my family and my friends from high school and stuff. It's like, it kind of sounds like, oh, well, I'm being held hostage by these obligations that Facebook, has on me.
Right.
Because it's always that. Like, every time you talk to someone, they'll always tell you, like, you're like, why don't you delete your Facebook? It's like, well, like, I use it because, it's like such and such reasons,
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that, you can function perfectly without it. And then when people talk about those obligations that they have family overseas, or they want to keep, they want to stay in touch with those high school friends, but now they're like, what, 35 years old, going on 40. Like, I mean, they're not staying in contact with those people to begin with, even though they have the platform.
Right.
So if you remove the platform, they're just going to do the same thing as they were doing without it, which was not communicated with those long lost friends,
right?
But like on a more realistic like format,
Right.
And it's not like you can't IM like the people that you really need and say, hey, listen, I'm getting off this shit. I don't want to be on this anymore. Just give me your number and I'll call you sometimes.
Right.
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 There's a lot of alternative. The thing with the internet is that it's such a double-edged sword in the sense that it can make you really stupid, or it can really make you really smart.
Right.
And so if people were exploring outside like different avenues on the time that they spend on Facebook every day, and on TikTok or on Snapchat or on like an Instagram, if they were to like, oh, well, like, let me use this for like information gathering, or, learn about something in history, or try to do that. Like,
Right.
there would be like a lot more, there'd be like a lot more, knowledgeable about things. And then like
Right.
this whole concept that people have, like I've gone out to dinner with some girls before, or it's like a group of friends, where I hear this a lot. It's like, my phone only has like 10% battery. I'm gonna go home now. Because they spend the entire time that we were socializing outside, they were on Facebook, and they were on Twitter, and they were on this, and they were on that.
Right.
And now their phone is like 5% battery, and now, oh, I gotta go home now. I'm done with this.
Right.
So I think one interesting send off that I'd like to point out is a quote by Cadence Owens concerning social media. Candace Owens,
Mm-hmm.
Who said of social media, she said that we were, I think it was like, we were unaware, willing guinea pigs to an experiment that we had no idea was happening. I mean, this is not like verbatim what he said, but it's essentially what it is, because they kind of, when social media came out, the first generation, which is the generation that you and I are in, we got launched on something without knowing any of the ramification that it would cause. And like, there was no warning signs as to like, well, you may experience, social anxiety, depression,
lose all
and all
your
that,
friends.
which I think should have been, it should have been listed in that, those, that agreement that you sign into when you sign into Facebook.
The nutritional
it's like
facts.
this will have damage to your mental health and physical health too.
Right.
And so we really were this these guinea pigs in this experiment that is still ongoing to this day.
Right.
And
Like,
and I
you
think
feel
that's like when people come to realize that, they can either accept it or like refuse to accept it. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are okay with it.
right. And I mean, it's like I was gonna say, you know, it'd be interesting if like there was like some kind of class action lawsuit of like every single Facebook user in America, um, you know, to get like damages for like, you know, like all the damage that we've had. Um, but it's like, I bet there's probably in the Facebook terms or whatever, it's like, you know, you probably render by using Facebook, by continuing to use Facebook, you render Facebook like, um, you know, indemnable. You
Yeah,
identify them, you know, for any damages, you know.
I'm sure there's a stuff like it's there. I
Right.
know for a fact that Facebook has a thing that says that anything that you post in terms of photo becomes the property of Facebook to a certain extent. So I remember that when I was in a lot of like my 2D design classes and 3D design classes in college, I had this guy who was kind of like, you know, like he's a little more on the conspiracy fence, you know.
Right.
But he was pretty adamant about, you know, reading out loud the thing about intellectual and artistic property that Facebook has, and he was adamant about not having any of this stuff posted on Facebook in terms of his
Right.
artwork.
Right.
So it was just yeah, I mean, like that's one guy, you know. And I mean, and I think that's the thing. I used to do visual arts, and those were some of the pictures. Like either you remove them completely, but you don't know if what you remove essentially can still be used by them one way or another.
Right.
You know, because they have these data, like they have these farms, you know, these
Right.
like all across New Mexico, Hawaii, that are just, you know,
Like
storage
Utah.
bank for like, you
Right.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all. I mean, it's huge.
Like just
It's
huge,
it's
like just
it's
like
as big as,
warehouses with like
yeah. Just
servers upon servers upon servers. Yeah, I mean, for sure they have everything. They probably have the original Facebook. I think recently also Facebook, like they have this like new like look or whatever. It's like the beta,
mhm
and it looks a lot more like Twitter now. I had to switch
mhm
back because I hated it, but you know they probably have the original Facebook like archived somewhere, you know, and like they have this new one that they have right now, and then they're probably gonna have another one after that. Um, yeah, and I mean that's the thing. Like Facebook knows us more than like anybody, really. Like
yeah.
probably Facebook knows you more than I know you. You know, and it's vice versa. You know, it's like they know all the pages you like. They have access to all your messages, like all your relationships, all your photos.
All the pictures that you posted or deleted, everything that
Right.
you may have like typoed,
Your
anything that you
comments,
drafted, everything that you like forgot,
the groups
everything
you're
that you
part of.
liked, everything that you unliked. It's fucking
Hmm.
crazy, and it's like terrifying if you
Right.
think about it in the long run. And that's
In the
like,
long
you
run,
know,
for
to
sure.
revolve around that original idea that it's not just a place for friends. It's a place for everything that you are, and much more.
Right.
And you know, it's it will sway your influence. It will deprive you of sleep. It will do a lot of things that are really, there's, you know, you always try to talk about like what's, like you try to like, with everything in life you try to like do a pro and con list of things. And I think that if people were to just sit down for a second and look at the pros and cons of Facebook, um, I would say that the cons really outweigh the pros in this day and age. Maybe
Right.
10 years ago, you could have made a clear argument that Facebook was a positive thing, not
Right.
knowing the ramifications that it would cause later on. But in the now, in the present,
Hmm.
in the ongoing future, No, like Facebook is absolutely detrimental to like people's health, mental or otherwise. And, you know,
Right.
you want to talk about privacy, you want to talk about all sorts of things. It's just, it's not good, you know?
Right.
So I don't know, but I'm glad that you're raising awareness about the topic. And I think that it's something that, it's never going to be a topic that's overanalyzed in my book. I think that
Right.
it's something that needs to be brought up on a constant basis.
Right.
And you know, like people need to like stop drinking the Kool-Aid. They need to
Right.
unplug from the matrix,
Right.
because that's really what it is. You know, it's
Right. It's like a virtual world
it's
kind of
terrible.
deal. Yeah, it's really not good. I mean, and I think, I mean, it's not to virtual signal, you know, not to say, oh, we're so much better than everybody because we're off Facebook. It's like literally like I'm
Mhm.
choosing to like save my life and my relationships with my friends and like kind of have like a sentiment of privacy. Like, I mean, it kind of sucks 'cause it's like, you know, all your favorite things are on Facebook, right? Like you have Manchester United on Facebook. You know, like so many of your artists are on Facebook, but it's like, well, like, is there another way to keep up with your with artists? Like, I guess, you know, just through Spotify or Apple Music. I mean, Spotify is an entirely other monster. I mean, Spotify makes so much fucking cash off of like
Yeah.
your listening history, and like they have all these like mood playlists. It's insane, and you know, that's why I switched to Apple Music. But even then, you're like, well, what's Apple trying to do? You know, you can never really like no one's innocent, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that, like, you know, we need to take a step back when it comes to like the things that we like as well, you know, because like
right,
we live in a world where we know what our favorite artists, our favorite celebrities think and do 24 hours a day.
right,
And we don't need that.
right,
We really don't. You know, if you go back to the coronavirus and how now, you know, like the opinion of so many fucking like Hollywood celebs is like placed and like wedged in between like my news feed, that it's
right,
absolutely horrible. If if this would have happened in 1995, like I think that it would have been it would have played out completely differently, because you know you wouldn't have like a fucking like Ashton Kutcher or fucking Cardi B like weighing in on a fucking glable pandemic, like, you
right.
know, like. And
Or
so
like,
you just
or like,
to
what's the name? Idris Elba. Like, Idris Elba has coronavirus. Oh my god! Like, what are we gonna do? Like me, you know, like 3,000 other people have it, but you know, they're not. They don't matter.
or Tom Hanks, like,
Right.
who gives a fuck, dude?
Right.
Like haven't we seen enough of him? Like
Yeah.
Like, what does it matter if like Pink has it? Like, I'm more worried about if my mother has it,
Right.
and that's what people should be worried about, not
Right.
if the fucking celebrities have it.
But you're
So
not gonna
I
get
think
like a
honestly,
news flash for it, you know?
I'm not gonna get a newsflash from it. I'm gonna learn about
Right.
it in a horrible way,
Right.
So I really think that like when it comes to like keeping up with things, like we don't need to keep up with things as much as like Facebook and social media has conditioned us to
Right.
keep up with those things.
Right.
Like
We're heavily programmed.
if ever I come to the mind, like if ever, let's say like I hear a song from, I don't know, like Spencer Cruz, or a song from, you know, someone that hasn't really been in the limelight in a while, you know, or I see a movie of someone I haven't seen, like heard about in a while, I can always
Mhm.
just Google and be like, well, you know, what's up with him? What's up with her? What's
Right.
their news? What's going on with them? And then I can get it. But you gotta let those things like occur in your brain normally, not in the way you've been conditioned by social media to be like, what is this person up to right now? I have
Right.
to check up on this person every fucking day.
Or
Like,
even to get
no,
notified
no,
when you don't want to get like it just pops up in
Exactly.
your
Like
feed.
you also have that. There's also that. There's a notification. So to the point where it's like they're engraving like this need in your head, even when you don't really need it. Or you looked
Senator
up Lil Peep once,
Senator
and now
Sanders is going
it's
live.
always Lil Peep. It's like, yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
We're in
yeah.
Manuel.
So for sure. I'm glad you had me over.
Yeah, thanks for joining,
What?
man. It was cool. His first guest on
Yeah.
on the show, kind of.
Yeah, it's
But
honor.
and it's kind of weird because people who are like are on Facebook, they're gonna be like, oh snap, I'm like Mhamed on Facebook, like whoa. But yeah, I mean,
I'm somewhat of a yeah.
yeah, a celeb for
Somewhat
sure.
of a yeah.
Yeah, I mean Facebook
But
and
yeah,
I feel
I
like,
mean,
and that's the thing too. That's one of the big things is like, when like the biggest like quote unquote influencers, right? Because I think you are an influencer, like, and I go as far as this, I'm an influencer as well to a certain extent. And it's like it really depends, hinges on influencers who get leaving the platform, right? I don't think Kanye West is active on Facebook, and I think that's very specific as to why he's not. I mean, I don't think he ever was, so it's not like he removed himself, but I think if he was active and then removed himself, it would have been a bigger impact. But I think if like big bands and stuff, like, and like major like influencers like leave the platform, you'll see people are gonna be like, oh well, it's like the same thing as what happened to MySpace is gonna happen to Facebook.
it's what happened to MySpace. All
Right,
of a
it's
sudden,
like
the bands were gone,
right.
and then shit stopped. So, I mean, we can definitely pray and plead for it, and hopefully, it'll happen. But like, I mean, I think that the thing is that like the mask of sanity that Facebook's been wearing for so long is starting to peel off. I'm not saying that it's completely gone, but it's
Right.
starting to peel off.
Right.
Like people, I hope that parents out there are like thinking twice before allowing their kids to have one.
Right.
But I think that's it's not a movement yet, but I can definitely see like cracks in like the veil of wholesomeness that Facebook has at this point.
Right. I mean, because you have some families, you have some kids that are like 9 on Facebook, like little kids.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, oh well, because all the other kids in the class have Facebook, then I want to have Facebook too. And it's like, well, hold up, like, and that's the thing. Like the executive, the Facebook exec was saying like, he has control over his own, right? Like he's not using Facebook, and he has control over his kids. He's like, they don't get to use it either. But beyond that, it's like, that's as much as you can control. So for sure, if like you're a parent or whatever and you have kids, you can control that and be like, okay, well, you don't get Facebook. And if you want to have Facebook, absolutely, you can get it when you're 18 or whatever. I think that's totally, I think if I had kids, I probably wouldn't let them on the platform.
Yeah.
But then again, it means I should like probably get off myself.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I'll you should send me the links to some of the info that you were talking to me about, especially like the one about Justin Timberlake's character in the Social Network. I forget his name.
Right.
Sean Parker.
Sean Parker.
Yeah, send me that. Yeah,
sure.
And then I'll try to look into the thing about how to potentially disable your account while still managing your pages.
Okay.
Because I think there's a possibility to do that. So I'll look into it through like the trenches of the internet that are not Facebook controlled.
Right.
So
I think there definitely could be a part 2 to this Facebook
for sure
discussion.
Like definitely keep it open and just continue what you're doing and just I'll I'm glad you're doing this. Just keep it up and just and like I said, it's not a topic that will ever be overanalyzed or over talked about, or you know.
Right.
So yeah. Anyways,
right.
I'm gonna go have some food, and
All right.
you have a good night. Okay.
All right, for sure, man. Catch you
Stay
later.
safe out there, Youceff. Okay.
All right, we'll do.
All right. Love you.
All right, later.
Bye bye.
All right, so yeah, basically, so there you have it. Just make sure to like the video, should be down there somewhere, and then subscribe. All the links to pretty much everything I covered or we covered is gonna be down there in the description. If you had an experience with Facebook, you want to share, like, feel free to share it. And yeah, with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.